Ladies and gentlemen, we are now beginning with the final and the most exciting session of today. Is Gen Z ready to take on the world, where we parry between the current and the future generations? Let me introduce first the esteemed panelists, Mr. Jitu Virwani, Chairman and MD, Embassy Group, with his son, Mr. Karan Virwani, CEO, WeWork India. Mr. M.R. Jayashankar, Chairman and MD, Brigade Group, Ms. Pavitra Shankar, Executive Director, Brigade Group, and Mr. Deepak Goradia, Vice Chairman and MD, Dosti Reality, with his daughter, Ms. Shraddha Goradia, Director, Dosti Reality, and his son, Mr. Anuj Goradia, Construction Management, Dosti Realty. Welcome, panelists.
Thank you.
This session will be moderated by Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman, 3rd edition of the CI Real Estate Confluence and Chairman, Anurag Group. Over to you, Mr. Puri.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted with this session. I was looking forward through the last 2 days to do this discussion. It's got my favorite people on the screen. I'm going to have great fun. I did circulate some questions to this group, and I'm not going to ask any question out of the ones that I circulated because there was just a trick to get you onto this panel. I was looking at the title and it said, is Gen Z ready to take on the world? I was just thinking to myself, I got a son and daughter who joined the business. Are we guys ready to take Gen Z? Gen X ready to take Gen Z? I think more than Gen Z ready to take on the world. I think that is very clear that Gen Z is ready to take on the world. Pavitra, I'm going to start with you straight in there. Two quick questions to you, Pavitra. Your dad is like, like the Amitabh Bachchan. He's like Sachin Tendulkar playing, and then you are like, Sachin Tendulkar's daughter getting into cricket. Has it been daunting to get into the business, or you've never seen him like that?
Actually, yeah, well, hi to everyone. Total left fielder, Anuj. I was only going by the questions that you sent me. I'm not sure what this even means. No, so I would say for me, joining the business was never really something I intended to do. It wasn't even something that my parents really pushed me or my sister to do, my sister Nirupa. And I think that one is because they thought we should just pick what we want to do. And two, to some extent, maybe because it is a construction firm in a real estate industry, which typically you don't see too many women. They maybe thought it wasn't the right one. But I would think that, I would say that as we sort of made our way through college, worked for other people, for me personally, I worked for somebody else in the US in consulting. I got my MBA from Columbia, and that whole part where I was trying to figure out what to do next, I did an internship with Brigade, reporting to my dad. And I think that was sort of the game changer for me. Until then, I just thought, why would I work with family? It seems like it could just end up in some sort of contentious positions. But really, that was the time when I had worked enough for others, when I realized that he's a great person to work for. Like, I would actually, purely from a professional standpoint, I would actually stand to gain so much from working with him, from my career, from my knowledge, in terms of opportunities. And I think that was it was a major turning point for me. Until then, even though I was 26 at that point and I was heading to business school, I actually at that point had no intention to work for the business. But after that, when I joined, after I graduated from Columbia, I couldn't immediately come back to India. So I ended up working for a real estate fund in San Francisco. And having that analytical experience really helped me today to where I am today. And I ended up having a business in the US for 4 years, where we actually dealt with NRI customers for Brigade. So I think that has been formative in terms of what I have brought to the company and my sort of background. I understand what the customers want. I 100% was talking to them pretty much every day and understanding what kind of service levels they expect and what kind of trust issues they have. So I think those few things were instrumental for me to join the business. And of course, there's nothing like actually being here physically in India, part of the business, and actually not even so much from a real estate standpoint, but just seeing how to run a business per se in India is extremely challenging. And I'd say the biggest thing is that it gives me a whole other sense of purpose. And I think that's the biggest, factor in this whole thing. So
I agree with
I
that.
think the sector is just sort of incidental sometimes.
Shraddha, if I can bring you in, there's one point that Pavitra mentioned. This is sort of a male-dominated business, and she said is that whilst she was doing her graduation, and even through the post-graduation, and both of you have studied in the US. Shraddha, you and Pavitra, who probably meeting for the first time, but I know both of you have studied in the US. Two questions to you. One is, what is the dinner table conversation? Do you talk work? I mean, you've got your brother there, you've got your dad there, you've got your uncles there. One is that. And second is, do you see that this business will change from being a male-dominated business? Sorry, Shraddha, you're on mute.
Hi. Okay, firstly, question one, definitely dinner, breakfast, lunch, every holiday outing, any random social, we're sitting four of us and we just be like, did you see what's the new project launch? What's the new price in the area and news happening in and around? So I would say, dinner table conversations, and that's what's even gotten me more into the business, because since I was a kid, I have been grown up listening to all these conversations, and sometimes, we are randomly just sitting, the four of us, or if we go somewhere out for coffee, and my dad would just pop out the question like, did you see today's jacket? And I'll be like, oh no, so it was today's jacket advertisement, any new project that's been launched in the industry, or any new technology that's come out here. I would say it's a pure real estate family. And secondly, to your second question, can you just repeat it again?
Is it sort of a male-dominated industry? I mean, very few women were so successful, and I am so delighted to have two of you on the panel.
No, I'm not gonna deny the fact that it's a male-dominated industry. It definitely is, because at some places where I've experienced environment or licensing, or at other places, definitely it's more of a male-driven business. But I would say the women equally now, it's kind of adding a good touch, because there are as many women bankers, women brokers, women sales people, media driven PR. A lot of girls are into the PR teams of the companies, marketing teams, and HR. So I would say it's a by and by, because architecture is also a very woman dominated industry. I mean, it's an equal industry of male and women, but I would say, buying a home, at the end of the day, a woman is something that fulfills, nurtures, empathizes with the customer. And, this is what even gets them to the table. Yeah, you know what? I really have to buy this house because she's convinced. So
nice.
It's going to be getting there.
Karan, I've had the privilege of working with you, with not you as much as with your dad. I am on the board with him on the Embassy REIT board. And, I knew your dad only as a very flamboyant, successful businessman, Mr. Jitu Virmani. And, through the board, I discovered, he's very astute, far quicker than the independent board directors in terms of calculations, and is able to see 7 steps ahead. But the exterior that you see of your dad is about flamboyance. And then I've seen you and your brother, and there's zero flamboyance in the two of you. If anything, it should have been the other way around, that the next generation has inherited so much wealth, and the flamboyance should have come in the two of you. So what did Dad do right to not get you two into the flamboyant lifestyle?
I think you have to actually ask my mom that question. It's not so much my dad, but it's more my mom that that has obviously brought that. But to be honest, I think both of our parents, or at least me, I got to see the entire rise and the growth of the company, and it was never like something that we were sort of like completely born into. And seeing, I think, my dad work and be home late and all of that stuff actually has its own impression on both me and Aditya. And also, I mean, if you know him well enough, you know that, there's no free lunch. You have to work for everything. And so that's like just been in the way that we've actually grown up, is to always like, just respect the work and like everything that comes with it, and actually have to, put in the work to actually enjoy the lifestyle that we have. And I think that that's something that we all three are very particular about. So,
Yes.
so yeah.
And Karan, as millennials, usually millennials lack patience. And, real estate is a business of patience. And I've seen all the three gentlemen who are here, Mr. Jaishankar, Deepak Garodia, and Jitu, very patient. When it comes to negotiation, oh my God, they have patience like anything. And as millennials, the millennials have very little patience. So how does this dynamic work between the Gen X and the Gen Z?
It's a very good question. I think that it's, I guess, like a story of maturity. If you see that I'm in a business, or chose to be in a business that is not so much on the patience, but more on the speed. And there's been a lesson learning in that as well. But I think that, it's a good balance. And then sometimes I actually would say it's the opposite, where me and Aditya kind of saying like, let's calm down a little bit, and that is, on the front foot all of the time, and so that's a constant discussion that we keep having. Yeah.
Yeah. Jitu, if I can quickly ask you, what are the learnings that you had from Karan and Aditya?
I think, firstly, I know that the new generation is far more intelligent than all the old generation. I think they're far more mature than the old generation. I think they have the ability to think in a very organized manner, and they're not so much about the size, but I think they're about how they want to do things. So I think that it's to me, it's been actually I've learned a lot from my kids, and I'm still learning every day. And just yesterday we had a brainstorming session in my house from 11 o'clock till 7. The senior guys, and I like Karan just mentioned, yeah. So they're always saying that let's do things in a more organized and a slower pace, and then do it properly. And of course, I know that Jai Shankar and me, when we see a good opportunity, we don't let go. So, and they look the other way, that they think the opportunities will keep coming, which is true actually. So it's as a style. I think when you build a business, struggling and surviving and trying to reach to the top, and then you're a generation which you have something on a platform, but you're mature enough to look after it in a nice manner. So there are a lot of kids who could screw things up, and there are kids who could, take the platform to another level in another much better organized manner. So I think that the three of us sitting here are lucky with three good kids, that who are able to be balanced and take our platforms in a much balanced manner, and keeping the reputation built far ahead of everything else than money. Because here you find these are contented kids who've never been refused anything, but have never gone overboard or being greedy, So, and of course, all this upbringing is, part of from their mothers, and I think it's done well. It's worked well for me. I see it's well worked for my colleagues in the panel also. So I think we should. I mean, I see a lot of investors, billionaires, or big business people who have their kids, either playing guitar all over Europe or running an orphanage in Rwanda, when we have so many orphanages in India. So I think we're just lucky, correct, guys?
Yes, yes. That is true. I mean, it's difficult to say anything nice because the Gen Z is on the screen. But I can tell you, Jitu, I think this screen is blessed with the quality of talent who's coming in the respective organizations and the ethics, the culture. The biggest thing that I can say is the humility that they bring onto the table, given that they are coming in from a lot of wind beneath their wings, because they are getting into very successful organizations. So it is true, Jitu, that it is very tough to be able to handle that kind of success and wealth and still remain very level-headed. So I absolutely pass on that compliment, what you said to the next generation. Mr. Jayashankar, you are very conscious of values, and the organization that you've built across has been fundamentally on the values. How have you been able to pass the values to both your daughters? I would say equally to Nirupa and Pavitra. Is it sort of a more formal way of passing it on? Is it informal? How has it been?
Thank you, Anuj, and it's truly a pleasure to be a panelist among friends like Jeetu, and though I don't know Deepak much, it's really good to see his kids. And Karan also, I've just spoken to him once or twice. And, just to add one point, what Jeetu was saying about Gen Z and others, see, like Jeetu and me particularly, Jitu particularly, I would say, used to do business with a lot of instinct, or the way we have grown is all through instinct. Whereas the Gen Z is, they do with a lot of data, a lot of analysis, and not that instinct is not there, but the proportion of instinct is much less than us. It's a 80-20 instinct versus data in our case. It may be the reverse in their case. Of course, it's also true that when we started business in the mid 80s, there was no data available, firstly, in real estate. And thanks to you and some of your colleagues, all the data is flowing in. That's why whenever you ask me, and some of your colleagues in other companies ask me about real estate, what's happening, I said I can talk only about our company and maybe our city, but you guys know the entire, maybe I would say, the horoscope of most developers across the country. Yeah, and on these values, every company has its values, no doubt, and all of us do follow the values. But about 10 years back, we felt it is better to ink them, ink what our values are. I mean, if you say trust, every builder say the trust is important. If you say quality, every builder say customer is important or quality is important. But in order to inculcate not only to my children, daughters, it is to the organization as such. See, the staff in the organization should know what we stand for, and of course, we need to live by it. So about 10 years back, we inked this, our core values of the organization. We called it as the QC first. Q standing for quality naturally and C naturally for customer. F for fairness in our dealings. I for innovation in our whatever little innovation we can bring into the sector. We are not a research-based organization to say that every other day we have to be innovative, but considering the sector, what innovation we can bring, and all of us have to be, in addition to doing business, we have to be socially responsible. So F for fairness, I for innovation, R is for responsible socially, and T for trust. So these are the values by which we harp on this in the company town halls, company communication, and we do have a daily prayer in the organization. First thing in the morning, we talk about values. We talk about unity. we sing a national anthem every day in the office. These are some of the things which we have done. And also going the next step forward, we print our values in the business cards. We print our values in the letterheads and maybe magazines. Like that, it is inculcated, and we always talk about it whenever an opportunity comes. So that way, and of course, ultimately, the proof of the pudding is in eating, and saying is one thing, and living by it is another. So we try to live by it as much as possible. That's why I think
Yes.
lead by example is what I say.
I just want to follow up on that. Is what was the moment that you felt that Pavitra and Nirupa are ready to take on the baton?
No, as Pavitra rightly said, we never pushed her, to join the business. Just to go back, when she was in high school, she wanted to be an architect, or an engineer. She had plans of joining IIT. She was working towards it, and I gave a book on economics by Paul Samuelson in the 10th standard or so, and she got very angry. As I said, I'm least interested in economics, and you're giving me economics book. So then she went to US, and she did when she went to college, she did take economics, though I didn't push her to do that. And also even after undergrad and working for a few years in an insurance company, and one fine day she called me and said she is joining Columbia and taking real estate MBA, a specialization. That was quite surprised me, but also pleased me very much. So that's why I knew then I can hope for
That was the moment.
hope for the next generation. Otherwise, we are a listed company. Now you can always exit whenever you want to.
Deepak bhai, coming to you, two questions to you. One is, did you know that Anuj and Shraddha were going to join the business? Did you know right from first day that they were going to come into the business?
Good evening, Anuj, and good evening, Jitu and everyone. The thing is, I had a desire that they should, but not very, very confident when they were studying. They were studying, and the ideas in the while going to universities. Everybody has a different ideas and different vision of the life. One is about the art and culture, something about the physics, and something about the chemistry. Nothing about civil engineering, nothing about the design and architecture. So while they were into university, I was little looking at it that if you have to do other things than this, then I think very limited from my side to continue. Something real estate is the only thing I understand. Other things I wouldn't understand. But gradually, maybe after say 1 or 2 years, the option of a junior year, sophomore year, they tend to go into the marketing, and then they tend to go into the civil engineering. So I was a bit relaxed. Now the thing seems to be that what I had inspired to be, now they are coming to the things which is into the things which definitely, if how the things take shape, but they would gradually come to the real estate. And the thing is, finally, both are into real estate. So I'm happy being a family of real estate, and things are working well. Things as others discuss. We enjoy working together as such, being two generations working together. It's a different way. We, of course, need a patience from our side. They also expect that, feels that to work with that, they also need some sort of a patience, because they expect some quick thing, which I take a time to decide, and it happens, but still, it's a fun journey.
Yeah. And how do you divide the work between Anuj and Shraddha?
I left them, both of them, to decide where they want to work together, and whether they want to work independently instead of me interfering and guiding them to do that thing. Let them only work out whatever they're comfortable with working together. Something they work separately, something they work together also. Yeah.
Super. Anuj, I'm going to come to you, and given that we are namesake, I'm going to ask you a tough question. Anuj, what are two things that you would want to change? Two things that you would want to change.
Hi everyone. Hope you can hear me. Thanks for having us, Anuj. So I would say there are a lot of changes like both me and Shraddha are keen to implement in the near future and long-term future, certainly. Certain things have already been changed in the last 4 to 5 years of work. But I would say that firstly, something, I mean, it's a fairly challenging question, but I guess something I would say very important for us is to become more technology driven in every aspect of our business, be it in sales and marketing, in onboarding customers, in sending automated demand letters, giving, and I would say that's about technology, be it for sales and marketing, and for construction and implementing new systems used in the Middle East and the US, Europe, in India. But all of that certainly will come at a cost to the company. So we always kind of weigh out the cost benefit and then decide whether it makes sense to proceed or no. Other than that, I would say one other important aspect I feel that we should have in our company, or we would like to change as soon as possible, would be like ensuring that how do we get talent into real estate, seeing that how maybe graduates from a IIT, from a IIM Bangalore, or from a VJTI local colleges here in Mumbai, Maharashtra, how they further I would say pushed or groomed at a very grassroots and ground level to look into real estate as a long-term career for the future. We know a lot of companies are actually doing this, and even I had done a short program with IIM Bangalore where I had a small tie-up with them. But it would be very crucial to get such talent into the industry at a very young age compared to them joining at a very experienced stage. So I
Very
think
well answered.
that's
Anand, very well answered. Technology and talent, you played it very safe. Dinner is going to be enjoyable tonight. Jitu, when do you retire? Or you never retire?
You know, Sindhis never retire. You know. No, so I mean, to large extent, honestly, the boys are a big help, and a lot of stuff is off my back, you know, and I'm pretty much more involved in all the strategic the development of the company, and of course, still keeping an eye on the financial part. And I see that going forward, you know, just to be involved in these two areas, you know, as I've always said in other forums also, that in our business, finance being the most important and well balanced thing. And yeah, I think they've taken a lot off my plate, and the whole thing was that in our company, it's been all about empowering younger people. So I'm sure you interact with a lot of people in our company that are mostly younger people, and they aren't many Harvard educated from IIM, MBA, you know, but these are all street sharp people trained well from the grooming period. Uh, they come at a reasonable price. They stay long term. They stay long term, and you know, we have a way of sharing profits with the staff. So I think in the long run, that has helped the company. And because I knew the kids were going to come in the business 10 years back, I had surrounded them with younger people, you know, and that's helped a lot. So that they have people around them working who are like 7, 8 years more experience than them, or 10 years experience than them, but not people in the 55 and 60s and stuff like that. And I think main is empowering and you know, trusting them, but of course keeping a watch, you know. So you know, they say there's a difference between relegating and delegating, you know. So I think that's a fine
Nice.
line, you know.
Nice, 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 nice. And Jitu, how you've been able to really extract yourself from day-to-day operations? I mean, you've done it brilliantly. I don't know many people who've been able to so successfully do it. I mean, it's perhaps a little wider question because it's not only about Aditya and Karan, but overall as well as a personality, you've been able to really, you know, take yourself up to sort of 10, 15,000 feet rather than at 1,000 feet doing everyday work.
I think it's my skill set of ability of trusting people and having a good eye on finding good people whom I can trust. So, I mean, I would say that even the boy who actually brings me coffee in the house from the, you know, from my CFO or people, our partners being around. I think that trust has really built a big play in my being like this, and also maybe I'm just been lucky that I've been surrounded by good people. So I haven't been in a situation where somebody's let me down as far as my trust or my vision and their ability to do things is concerned. And like I said, the boys are a good platform. I also didn't force them to come into the business. They came on their own. And I have my youngest one now studying in LA, and he's also keen to join the family business. We spent a lot of time during this COVID period to run through things like how the family business would run ahead, how decisions would be taken. Tomorrow they get married, they have kids, their kids would come in the business. So putting a family charter together, and I saw very ENY was helping us with that, and I saw a very mature way of them answering things to some of the very tricky questions which ENY was asking.
Yes.
And ideally, me answering them also would be in a tricky spot, but I think their consensus was good. So I think I'm in good hands as far as the future is concerned. So I think it's going to be easy for me to just stay a little bit away like that. And as you've seen that I only involve myself in some major decision making, and everything runs on its own.
Nice. Pavitra, we saw this big crisis that came through, during the pandemic. If you didn't have support of Dad, how would you have managed it? Would you have been able to manage it through, or you would have really felt his absence?
Absolutely, we'd have felt his absence. And I think that's something that, that we all realize. And for the whole company, my dad is sort of the leader and the one that all of us look up to. And not just from a family perspective, but also as professionals. And I think that's one of the big challenges that we will face. It's not just succession from him to his children and the generation, but it is also how are we professionalizing this business? And to an extent, we have done that. We have CEOs and COOs running all of it. But I think it's still going to be a transition. All of this is going to happen at one time. Going back to what happened during the pandemic, I think he has a very, he's very definite about how he's going to approach these things. And I think that was different from maybe how I would have looked at it, or maybe others would have looked at it. But honestly, like looking back, I don't think we should have reacted in any other way than what he did, even if it seemed, like a very sharp pullback from, our normal course of operations and how we should really, prepare and sort of hunker down. A lot of it seemed a lot more severe than I thought. But then again, he's the one who's seen 4 different real estate cycles. For me, I think as a working professional, I sort of saw it from 2008 onwards. Or 2002, but that was just when I was looking for a job post-college. So, it's been a huge learning for all of us. But I think today, Brigade is still Mr. Jaishankar, and that is completely fine. For some of us, it makes our lives a lot easier. People know what to expect when they come to the company, and I think a lot of it is something that we would want to retain and keep in terms of our core values and in terms of our approach. So I don't want to trade away any of those things. Actually, my team will say a lot of times I tell them, if you're concerned or need to know how to react in a situation, you should think, what would CMD do if you're confused?
Nice.
He has the right approach. He will keep all stakeholders in mind. And for employees or different departments, I think that's something they need to understand. They need to see from an organization and all stakeholders standpoint rather than, just their own little world. So it's sort of like it's just like a way of also just saying what should you do from an organization standpoint. But then again, it has a lot more impact if you put it that way.
And then, Pavitra, it is true that, the generation that we guys represent, we have seen several of these. And, we were of an age at where you are today, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And, we did what you are doing it at this moment in time. But I think what Mr. Jaishankar and the way that you related that he hunkered down, pulled back, all of us, did that as a knee jerk because we didn't know whether this was going to be long term or not because we had seen previously long term impacts. I think he also opened it up very quickly once he knew by August that this is not going to be that long term. But that's a very good point that you say is that most of us who were experienced really held the horses back. At the end of March to say, guys, let's just wait and see what's going on in this world. And those who did not, then they went down, and you could see is that the level of maturity was very different within the organizations who just continued with that. They had not seen those recessions, and that's why some of them found themselves in some trouble. But good point, good point. Karan, you're into technology, and the way you represent WeWorks, and hopefully the way you're now going to take over the India Bulls your real estate arm in Bombay. Do you think what Anuj brought out the point on technology, we're going to see this generation being able to push technology into real estate? And reason that Karan and I ask is that even when I was running JLL, it used to be a very common belief that this sector does not adopt technology, and I've seen that in Anrock as well. It is very difficult to get this sector to adopt technology. I think we're amongst the last sectors left who's averse to adopting quick technology. What's your thought going forward, given that you're now going to be running, embassy residential along with the India Bulls real estate?
Yeah, look, I think there's two parts to it. I think, whenever everyone thinks of technology, we think that we need to build these fancy products, or, users need to start suddenly getting on an app or something like that. And, that's suddenly going to change. That's going to become technology. I think technology and using technology and data needs to become core part of how the business actually operates to start with. And I think that's something that we're actually, focused on right now, at least, initially, is to first just, digitize the internal system within embassy to start actually leveraging technology, whether that's the way we use some applications like Salesforce or SAP, and actually do reviews on that, and actually use all of that to to measure a success, or also to collect data from different points of the business. Our business is so vast across so many different verticals. It requires like an infrastructure at the back end to just be able to, grab the right data, and people to be able to fill the right data to start off with. And I think once you're able to do that, and you just change the DNA of the internal organization a little bit to leverage that, that's when after that is when you actually have to start using technology for your users, because unless you're able to do that, the user experience is never going to be seamless, for the end user. And at WeWork, actually, we had the advantage of, some of that already being built out, or the actual business, being enabled by technology from the start, which has allowed us to, innovate and actually put out new products. Like we just launched a product called WeWork On Demand, which allows you to, get on an app and actually book a workspace for 500 rupees at, like Zomato or Swiggy. And it's just giving, workspace on demand whenever remote workers or whatever it is needed. And that's because we were a little bit, newer and more nimble. We were able to do it a bit quicker. You have, an organization that's been around for 30 years, and you have people who have been doing something for, that long. You need to actually focus on transforming that, which is not an easy task, and it is very difficult. But as the users actually, become people of our generation, as your buyers become more millennials, as the occupiers within the office spaces are more Gen Z and millennials who are already used to using technology, and you're basically a cyborg now with your phone. You do everything, like your mind is thinking through your phone. You're already like part machine. it will eventually like progress to that, because then the way that you're living requires technology, the way that you're working requires technology, and it will be a gradual change, but it's a big momentum shift that you have to create with the biggest players in the world, right, and actually adopting it. The more interesting part actually is that the ecosystem of newer startups and also people from outside the real estate industry who are looking at real estate from the outside view and saying that, look, I can probably solve this problem because I have a certain amount of knowledge and technology and expertise. You're seeing a lot of startups now actually focusing on prop tech and actually solving, these problems. And we don't need to necessarily like invent something. There are many people who are inventing it for us. We kind of just have to pick the right ones, and nurture those and actually grow it that is right for our business. That's what we are focused on right now. And I don't know how long it's gonna take. I know, like, we hired a CTO maybe 3 years ago. I don't know really, I haven't really seen much of that happen yet. But hopefully, in the next few years, there will be a big change.
I think the trouble is that the CTOs that we guys hire are in their 50s. That's where the trouble comes in. Karan, but Karan, you mentioned a super point. By the way, we guys are very averse to get people from outside the industry to come into real estate. We are fascinated by just recruiting from within the industry itself. And, it is such a challenge to get in the talent, because all that we are hiring is hiring from others, but really not going out the way that you've explained. And there is beautiful talent outside. And, we do hope that Gen Z does bring in that talent from outside. Otherwise, it is all about, this guy has applied, is he a good guy or not? So, you just try and hire from within the industry, and would love to, have this Gen Z talent from outside. Shraddha, I'm going to come to you. I know your organization well, and there are many, many, many people who work with Dad for decades. And you have a great idea. How do you implement that idea when these people have worked with Dad for such a long time, and you have to change their habit to get into a different idea? I know you're big on sustainability as well. And from most of their perspective, it is going to be, it doesn't make money, Shraddha, so we're not going to do this. Into it is, how do you actually implement it? How do you get the organization to agree? Is it that you have to go to Dad and then he percolates it down, or you have to work your way through the system without sort of annoying the people and then thinking, oh, it is the boss's daughter, and that's why we have to do this for her?
I mean, it's not an easy job at all, because when certain companies built a certain way, you can't just completely come in and bombard them and tell them everything that you guys are doing is wrong and I am the best just because I've had that education abroad and interacted with kids from Columbia and Harvard and like all these professors, and you can't overrule the management. So at this point of time, it has been, in fact, this has been the most challenging job for Anish and me, and I would say that we have succeeded, because this year it's been almost 5 years or 6 years since I've been working with Dosti, and a lot of the things have fructified like during the COVID, and we've had a couple launches taken place which have been very successful because of all these new strategies that we have driven. But it has been a very, very mentally exhausting journey. It's been very demanding, and yeah, I would not say it's been a lot of nitty-gritty and hard work, because the management is all the way towards the end, but there are so many junior and senior executives and managers that you have to first work with, understand, explain them what software is, how do these softwares operate, how to put it in word presentations, because Anuj and I have, at this stage we are working towards making the company culture very professional and very digitally and technology driven. So it's, and we are trying to adapt to all these measures with value engineering strategies because the company cost is very, very important, especially after the way everything's playing out, like GST, demonetization, and COVID. That your cash flow has to be your Bible. It has to be in front of you on a daily basis, and I guess that is the only thing my father has kind of just told Anuj and I, that whatever you all do, whatever you all think of implementing, whatever you guys want to change, please take a look at your cash flow as if it's your bread and butter of the day, and then you can figure it out. So it's been pretty, we still have a very long way to go, but by and by we do get there. And yeah, that's what I could
Yeah.
say.
Anuj, if I can continue with that, so what do you call your dad in office?
So we normally refer to him by his initial, just by DKG.
Yeah. Okay.
Addressing him as dad, or maybe if I go to his cabin for a discussion one-to-one, then it's a different scenario. But if we're with an architect, we're with a consultant, then it won't look appropriate to maybe call him that also.
But yeah, no, I was just asking on the side. But Anuj, must be a tough one. I mean, I put myself in your shoes or Shraddha's or Karan or Pavitra's. Sometimes I think it's probably easier if it was not that you were working for your dad. Because, one thing, and I know your personality and Shraddha's personality well, you don't want to be known that you are Deepak Garodia's son or daughter in the organization. You want to have your own identity. So without rubbing off some of the guys whose decision you may not necessarily agree, but you have to follow their their pattern, because you don't want to suddenly start to throw your weight because my second name is Garodia, and that's why you have to listen to it. By the way, I have a lot of youngsters in that category who do that, but fortunately this screen does not have that trait. But what has your experience been on that particular point? That how do you delicately manage, between being dad's son and a manager of the business?
Anuj, sorry, I actually lost your voice for a few seconds.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying is that how do you manage the conflict between being dad's son in the office and then being just a professional manager?
So I think to address something like that it's very essential to go through the life cycle and live the life of an employee. But when you have to make a stern decision, you need to take that firm foot and make a stern decision. So be it if a certain employee is asked to wait till late and complete data entry or complete a presentation, you need to kind of you need to act like you're a part of their team.
Nice.
Longer journey home, you need to also endure and be in a similar situation. But I would say it all just comes down to balance. And maybe you need to identify the future who kind of are loyal to you and know that you are working towards the right path and right direction, although it may not seem like that. But once you have like a core team established, for you to percolate a new idea or a new concept into the organization happens a lot more easier for me.
Interesting. Absolutely. We got just 3-4 minutes. I've got one question each to Deepak Bhai and then Mr. Jaishankar. Deepak Bhai, our generation made a ton of mistakes. What are 2 things that you would say is that this generation should not do? From a business perspective, and then Mr. Jaishankar, I'm going to ask you is 2 things personally that they should not do or that they should do. So Deepak, by business for you, 2 things, the mistakes that we've made in our generation that we say to this generation, guys, just be careful, do not do these 2 things. And then Mr. Jaishankar on the personal side, after Deepak Bhai has completed his.
One is that we as a developer always ki chalo hota hai chalta hai part of a thing that we'll find a solution someday. But as a take a call sometime, and we may be right, we may not be. So the one is that proper study, research, and then take a call. and value to the whatever value you've been doing the business. You stick to the ethics pillar and value, and then you will definitely succeed. Of course, hard work is always there. So along with the hard work and moral and value, you need to work towards getting the things to that direction, and you get a success.
Super, absolutely. Mr. Jayashankar?
Anuj, it's a difficult question, but still I'll attempt. One is
I can see Pavitra's smile year to year. I am very attentively listening to this. And one of this, I hope, is work less.
I hope so also.
I would put it this way. One is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, stick to the core values. Work less, yeah, okay, but work smart. You see, there is no free lunch in business. You can't work less. You can't not do this, but still you can't be lucky. And I heard somewhere, what is the definition of luck? Hard work increases the probability of your luck. So that is one. Everybody will say, okay, X is lucky, Jitu is very lucky, but nobody knows how hard Jitu
I
works.
agree.
Or
I agree.
most don't know.
Yes.
I consider him as a financial genius in the real estate sector. And
No,
so
well said. Yeah.
success would not be easy. He has worked damn hard, and then others may think he's lucky because he's also flamboyant. That hard work and flamboyant together is a rare combination. So that is one. And but see, be patient. Don't jump to impulsively. Don't act. Be patient and take care of all the aspects. As I said, the stakeholders and whatever the long-term approach. If I do this, what may be the impact of that? It's a business is slightly like a game of chess. I don't know whether it's which is more complicated. I don't know, but it is like a game of chess. Particularly when you deal with landowners, when you deal with the government authorities, and it is quite tricky. So handling government authorities, with kid gloves is very important, and that is something. And what she should not do, yes, she need not work as hard as me, but let them work much smarter than me.
Nice, nice. This is a great summary.
Yeah.
Not as harder, but more smarter than you. Jitu, final 1 minute. Where are we going to be 20 years later? At least the four of us are not going to be on the screen. You, Mr. Jayashankar, Deepak Bhai, and myself, we're out of the screen. Where do you think this industry is going to be with the four youngsters who are going to be on this on the screen and perhaps sitting in our chairs at that time? Sorry, Jitu, you're on mute.
Me watching the younger generation, and I'm not Deepak Bhai, I'm not being biased, but especially from Bangalore. I see the way business is run. I think this business is going to be highly professional, run highly professionally. It's going to be administered more in a balanced way. There's going to be a lot of technology, and I think it's going to become a much more respected business than it was when I started.
Nice.
There were times it was really not a nice thing to say you were a developer, but I think a lot of respectability will come into the business as these younger generations who are more customer friendly and more quality conscious and more ethically much better than the older generation, will come in. I mean, I see this business has a great future. In fact, I keep telling Karan and Aditya that, this is the golden era. From here, 10 years, 15 years down the line, there's no stopping, like there were these large family-owned businesses in America which became huge corporations, and I don't see it being very difficult for these kids to build a large corporation worth billions of dollars. Just by being at work and just being the right things at the right time. I mean, I think that it is. And you were talking about making mistakes and everything, but we can teach them about the mistakes we made. But I think my kids will be successful if they make mistakes, because the only way you can be successful is if you make mistakes. So I would hope that they make some mistakes, newer mistakes, so they learn better and take the company to larger heights. So that's my take on this. And
So,
Jai Shankar, to your saying, the harder you work, I have a really nice saying for that, success is like pregnancy. Only you know how many times you got screwed. So, so it's so true, because I don't know where this flamboyance keeps coming from me, but I think it's just come from because every time I do things differently than other people. But
it's your
yeah.
sunglasses, Jitu. It's your
No, I
sunglasses.
decided to sit outside in the garden and do that. No, I also have I had an eye surgery, so I need to wear
Yeah.
them.
No,
But
so
I think we are in good hands. At least I can speak for the people on the panel and a lot of friends around me. Also, I see them. The kids are really, humble and down to earth, and we have a good future in the real estate business.
I agree with you,
Very
Jitu.
true.
I think India has a great future. I mean, this generation which has come in, they're hugely intelligent. They're fortunate to have a cosmopolitan education, very international. They have understanding of the best practices. Equally, I hope they continue to retain the values that the Generation X has imparted onto them. And it is true that it is becoming a more respected profession. It's becoming a more respected industry. And hopefully, Jitu, as you said, is the next 10, 15 years, as this generation gets into more powerful positions within their respective organizations, they enjoy the golden era that is here to stay for at least the next 1.5 decades. So great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I've overstepped a little bit on the time, but it has been absolute pleasure. Delighted. I think we could have done this for a couple of hours. Hopefully, we will get back again at some stage soon. Thank you very much, all of you, taking up the time.
Thank you so much, Anand.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Anand.
You
It was fun.
surprised everybody with your questions. So bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.
But
Bye.
Bye.